All right, it's time for getting started with Premiere Pro. I wanted to make sure you're aware of a few things with Premiere Pro as opposed to some other programs such as, say, Microsoft Word or Google Docs. Once we put our files in a folder in Premiere Pro, they need to stay there, which means it's really important to stay organized, meaning have all your files in one folder before you get started. And if you do add a file later on, be sure you add it to the same folder. This is a big deal because I've had students in the past who insert an SD card and they pull video off the card and then they take the card out. Well, if you do that, then Premiere Pro can't find the video. It always looks at where it took it from in the beginning. So it's very important to put all your assets in one folder and keep them there. You can't move them. There's no just like pasting, like you can paste a picture from Google onto a Google Doc or a Word doc. It doesn't work like that with videos. All right, so now that you understand that basic setup, I have a nice little document in here that is the workspace for Premiere Pro. And I am going to just pop into Premiere for a moment just so you can kind of see a little bit about what it looks like if you have never been in it. Now I've already created a project. I've opened the finished project of what we're making, but I want to show you just some very basics so you know how to get around in the program. So up here at the top, the File, Edit, Clip Sequence, that is the menu bar. That's a pull-down menu bar. Right below that up here, these are what we call workspace switchers. And so you can click these and it changes the arrangement of these little guys all around. These things all around are called panels. So when I click on editing, I'm in the editing workspace and I have certain panels in certain places. But if I go to the effects workspace, I have different panels in different places. So it's very important to understand the workspace switcher up here. It changes the location of things like, say, this bar that has the tools on it, where the project window is over here, which holds all of your assets. So there's just different things based on what you're clicked on up here at the top. When we start this project, we are going to start in the assembly workspace, but I'll walk you through all of that in the next session. Just want to make sure you're aware of what things look like before we get started. So again, here you're going to see I have my tools, and you can grab a hold of the little bar between things to resize things if you want to. I kind of suggest not moving things around too much when you're using Premiere, just because you can switch workspaces when you need to do different things, so there's not really a lot of use for undocking panels. Down here on the right, this is where you're actually going to do the edits. This is where you drag everything to put it in order. This is called a sequence, and it's kind of more affectionately known as a timeline, but Premiere calls them sequences, and you can have multiple sequences in a project. So think the old DVD days. You could have, chapters in a DVD. Those chapters might each be a sequence. Or your title, like whenever a TV show comes on and there's like the title with the stuff that's happening, that might be in its own sequence. And fun fact, you can put sequences together in a sequence. So yeah, just think about that. So you can combine all of those things together. This thing here in the middle of my screen on the assembly workspace is called the program monitor. And that shows me what's going on in the project. So when I drag this little blue guy is called the playhead. Sometimes you'll hear it referred to as a CTI, current time indicator. That allows us to scrub, that's another term, through that timeline to see what's happening. That is a way to preview what you've got going on there. And you can scrub slowly and go frame by frame if you want to. So that's the program one. Now there's another monitor, and if I go to a different workspace, I'm going to go to the editing workspace. Over here there is a source monitor, and that's a pre-editing monitor, which we'll use later on. So just understand they're going to look exactly the same, but the one that we're going to be using to preview our timeline is called the program monitor. Now there's lots of other buttons and things that are mentioned on that handout in the packet, so take a look at least at those. But I just wanted to give you a basic idea of the interface itself. Now down on the timeline, we do have a couple of keyboard shortcuts that are important. One is spacebar. If I press the spacebar, it plays. And if I press it again, it pauses. Down here at the very bottom, you're going to see this little bar with circles. That's our zoom slider. So that's going to zoom up on my timeline here or zoom out. Okay, and you can see the different time code up here at the top, 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds. And then I can pull out and zoom out more. Okay, at the bottom of the program monitor, on the left, there's blue numbers. Those blue numbers indicate where I'm currently at on the project. Notice they're right there and over here. That's the playhead position. So if I told you to go to exactly 7 seconds on here, you could click in this box and you could change that 5 to a 7 and get rid of those and hit enter, and it would go straight to that 7-second marker. So that's just handy to know. It's an easy way to get where you need to go, but it's also how you can tell where you're at. So as you scrub, you'll see that change. Now I will tell you the very last number, these actually represent frames. So the number before that, that's seconds, but the very last thing is frames. So individual frames, think like a flip book. Individual frames are represented by that very last number. And then over here on the right of the program monitor, that's how long the current sequence itself is. So this sequence is 30 seconds long exactly, because that's what we're making. And so when I get everything put together, it should end at 30. That's important to know, because if you accidentally scoot something way down there because you just wanted to scoot it over and save it for later and you forget about it, you're going to see that number higher than you want it to be. So anyway, that is the basics of what the interface looks like. We are going to start the project here in this next session. So get ready to join me for session A in the packet.